Welcome back, everybody, to another session of the Negotiation Room. It's great to be back, and this is the second part of our new trilogy. And this time we have a very special guest. It's actually a returning guest, which I really personally like. Mark Bowden is a wonderful genius within the field of body language and behavioral as well. And we're going to talk about an interesting topic today because in many negotiations today, we assume that the counterpart is trying to get the best deal. But experienced negotiators knows that something else might be going on. Sometimes the other side needs something different. They need a win, not from a financial point of view, but from a personal point of view. They may need to look stronger in the organization. They may need to look stronger for their team. And it could be all about power suddenly and power dynamics. I also feel that in today's world, from a very geopolitical point of view, I see a lot of people coming to me saying, hey, isn't strength the best way forward? Shouldn't I be more combative and more aggressive in my relationship with other people? And my answer is no. In general, no, you shouldn't. So when you see that the world might be turning more aggressive and more combative, you should actually look at a more collaborative way. So let me just introduce Mark, because we're going to spend the next hour talking about this fascinating topic. How do we deal with a narcissist? How do you deal with a combative, aggressive individual? How do we read them? And Mark, I could be talking about you for hours, really. I'm very impressed with your background, and we have a true expert in the room right now, guys. So please use the chat to ask questions, because this is a rare opportunity you have to talk to Mark here. So who's Mark? Mark is, without any doubt, one of the leading experts on body language and human behavior in the world. He's been ranked 3 times as the world #1 body language, and right now he's #1 on communication, ranked by global gurus in the world. He's running his own organization, Truthbring, where he advises organizations like Zoom, Shopify, Toyota, KPMG, American Express, NATO, US Army, the list goes on and on and on, political leaders, prime ministers from G7 nations, and, well, I could continue the list down here. He's also a best-selling author of several books. I would recommend you guys to pick up 1 or 2 of his books. They are amazing. And he's done a very famous TEDx talk called The Importance of Being Inauthentic. And he is part of the famous Behavioral Panic that he just told me have 1.2 million subscribers on YouTube. That is an amazing amount of people. Mark, thank you so much for taking the time in your busy schedule. I'm so happy to see you once again here.
Keld, it's great to be here. It's always fascinating to have a chat with you. Obviously, a great expert yourself in the field of negotiation. So, look, let's have at it. What do you want to talk about? What can we get solved in our time together today?
Yeah, I don't know if we can solve anything, but we can talk about it because it is the state of the world right now. And I would love to solve that, but I guess a lot of stuff is going on right now. Let's start with something that I feel many professionals actually misunderstand. When somebody enters a negotiation, look at a counterpart or a meeting, whatever, is not important, and they have a need to look strong, needing to win or needing to dominate that room. What signal, Mark, do we typically see in their behavior, their body language, even before they say anything? Is there anything we can immediately spot that tells us, ooh, here we go, the gorilla has just entered the room?
Yeah, look, there's no hard and fast rules, but it's difficult to manage the universe, the world, if you don't lay down some rules that can then be defeated, essentially. So look, here's a fairly good rule I want you to look out for, is, are they trying to win territory non-verbally? Okay, so what might that look like? It could be the territory of space. Are they trying to take up space? Are they trying to take up more than the space they should rationally own in that negotiation? Are they trying to take up your space? Are they trying to take up somebody else's space? Let's think about the space of, say, their voice. Are they taking up more airspace than anybody else, talking more? Are they taking up more volume than anybody else? Are they kind of grandstanding in that way? Look, it's not a hard and fast rule, but it's a nice indicator to go, hang on, might I be dealing with somebody who must have power in this situation? Okay, look, all our body language, I would say, is a display of power or a response to a display of power. Be that, the power of somebody's volume, somebody's being very loud. Do I respond by being louder back to them? Do I respond by kind of minimizing and shrinking in.
Mm,
There's all kinds of power in the universe.
mm,
There's all kinds of ways people try and take power.
mm,
Just watch out for that. Keld, what do you
mm.
think of that rule, shall we
Yeah,
call it?
I think it's great. Now, when you talk about taking space, I understand the verbal part. Is it also a physical thing? Would you typically see that they're sitting at a table and just trying to conquer territory as well?
Yeah, look, so look, maybe they've got a cup of coffee, they've got a glass of water, maybe they've got their laptop out, maybe they've got their pen, maybe they've got their mobile phone. That's going to be, well, how much space are they putting between them and that mobile phone, let's say? Are they
Mm,
putting it out into somebody's territory? Are they
mm,
trying to encroach on what would naturally be somebody else's space? Now, I would say, Kel, look, if you're in a negotiation, you want to be taking up space, but you want to be maximizing the rational space that you should, own for that
mm.
situation. So look,
Right.
here in the situation that I'm with you right now, I'm taking up a rational amount of space. But if I started encroaching into your space, yeah, if I start, say, reaching over and gesturing and maybe touching into your space, maybe I even come over and I just kind of tap your knuckles or tap your fingers to make
Right.
my point. Maybe we're
Right.
sitting side by side, but I reach over and I kind of
Mm,
tap your knee. Yeah.
right.
I'm right in your space in that
Mm,
situation. Okay. So,
right.
so again, there are no, different situations have different territorial needs, and there's
Right.
rationally, some situations rationally need more space for somebody. But has it
Right.
moved out of what is ordinary, normal, and into something that's a little more,
Mm,
say, theatrical, a
right.
little more of a big and visible display, a bit more of
Right.
a dramatic gesture? Now
Right.
we're dealing with somebody who needs the power, maybe.
Yeah, great, Mark. Mark, is this a conscience behavior? Obviously, I know it's a difficult question to answer because everybody is different. I understand that. But is it typical of conscience behavior? Somebody before stepping into the conference room is thinking, this is the way I'm going to behave. Or is it just instinct? Is that just engraved in the genes?
Yeah, look, if we talk about the clinical narcissist, there's elements of upbringing and how they were treated, and there's elements that are genetic, and there's elements that are neurological, and all of that is going to make it more subconscious or unconscious, we might say. So look, if we take this idea of power, ego, and control, which is a great way of framing it, and go to the extreme, and let's say, look, we have the grandiose clinical narcissist with us, which are, slightly rarer than we would imagine. Look,
Mm,
the thing with a personality disorder like this is it's a disorder. So all of our personalities, you and I, have a certain level of self-interest and
mm,
wanting ourselves to rank high. Of course, we
mm,
have that.
mm,
What a clinical narcissist has, it's outside of the social norm. It's
mm,
tough to handle. They're
mm,
really tough to be around. They're
mm,
finding it hard to be around friends and family and workmates and
mm.
hold a really good, let's say, negotiation with
Right.
somebody that is healthy. They're finding it
Right.
hard to be healthy.
Right.
Different contexts, different businesses, different cultures will have different ideas of healthy. But here's what's
Mm,
happened to that clinical narcissist: their self-esteem was damaged so highly at probably quite an early age that they have this strategy of self-protection in order to protect how damaged that self-esteem was. They see themselves
mm,
actually, this would be interesting for any negotiator, they see themselves actually as very low value. So,
mm,
what are they doing about that? They are constantly telling stories and
mm,
needing feedback that they are of high value. And they
mm.
might do that. If I were a clinical narcissist, Keld, what I would start to do in order to raise my value is potentially to lower yours.
Mm.
To lower yours. Because
Right.
then if I can lower your value, well, then
Mm.
in contrast, my
Right.
value goes up and I feel safer in this
Yeah.
situation. Look, and we can
Right.
talk about the symptoms that come out about that and the
Mm.
risks that go with
Mm.
that. But I'd love your feedback on that idea
Sure.
of you're dealing with somebody who actually
Right.
has low self-esteem, and what they're
Mm,
doing is actually
mm,
pushing their self-esteem contextually to be higher.
yeah. Yeah.
What are your thoughts? And maybe when have you seen that in
Um,
negotiations?
Oh, okay. Wait, one important comment I have here, Mark. I think that's important for our audience as well, is to separate the narcissist from the aggressive or combative
Right.
professional. Because I guess, as you said, there's not that many true narcissists out there, right? I mean, they are rare.
Yeah.
But what we do see is a lot of people who believe that the combative or aggressive behavior is the successful way of dealing with other people. But I guess, Mark, and that's a question to you. We can't necessarily claim that they are narcissists because they have that behavior, right?
Right. Well, it's an easy mantle to put on them. It's an easy title because the moment I'm in a negotiation with you, Keld, and I go back to my team and they go, "Well, how's the negotiation with Keld going?" And I go, "Well, such a narcissist." It's so easy now
Mm,
because we've got some kind of vocabulary
right,
to treat you around and discuss you around. But the
right,
thing is was that actually helpful? Number one, was it
right,
accurate?
right,
Is this actually a clinical narcissist? Chances
right,
are possibly not. Yeah,
right, right.
maybe. But I think, what's better is what you've done, which is to go, hang on, we're dealing with power, ego, and control,
Right.
and it may be interesting to think about the narcissist. So I could go, hey,
Mm,
I think Keld has a real need for power,
mm,
and control in this negotiation.
right,
What if we treat him as if he was a narcissist?
right,
What
right,
would we have to start to do to come out better in this negotiation and
right,
help
right,
him get through that negotiation? I think
right.
that's the better frame to put it in.
Right. A couple of years ago, Mark, I was sitting with a client in a negotiation,
Yeah.
and the counterpart was, how can I put it nicely, very aggressive. And not
Yes.
only very aggressive, but hugely overweight. And this gentleman started every negotiation we had with him the same way. He was exploding every time, saying, "Why the heck can't you? And I'm fed up with you guys, and I want this." And because he was not very fit, every time he had that explosion, Mark, he was sitting there going,
Oh my
after
Lord.
each explosion, right? Because it was tough for him, but that was what he believed in. Now I gave up. I told my client, "Good luck with this guy. I can't help you." So I left. I didn't even invoice my client because I was useless. And I said, if you continue to have a dialogue with him, good luck with that. And then, my client called me a couple of months later and said, "You know what? You remember that counterpart?" And I said, "I sure do." And he said, "I found a way to deal with him." And I said, "Really? What did you do? Tell me. I'm always willing to learn." And he said, "You know what? A couple of meetings after you left, he did the same thing, the same explosion. And after he was done with that monologue, he was just sitting there breathing, right? And then I just looked very calmly at him and I said, 'I'm sorry, Steve. I didn't quite get that in the middle. Could you repeat that for me, please?'" Now, Mark, I don't think we should pass on that advice to anybody else, because you could probably imagine if Steve have any more energy left, you get a nuclear
Yeah.
explosion, right? But that leads me into to my next question. When we meet somebody who is really aggressive, combative, narcissist, or whatever label we might put on them,
Mhm.
what do we do? Do
Yeah.
we just run out of the room, give up, or what? What's the tool in the toolbox, Mark? Because I think everybody watching us right now have experienced that in their lifetime, meeting somebody who is aggressive.
Yeah. Look, let me give you a bunch of tools, Keld. And I don't know which one you would want to use in what situation, but the more vocabulary we have, I think the more powerful we can be, essentially. So let me give you a few interesting tools. Here's number one, Keld, which is here's what I know is that most big aggressive emotions can't last longer than about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I could do is go, and listen, Keld, I'm going to put you in the frame again because it's easier for me to go. Look, imagine Keld in this. So imagine, Keld, that you have absolutely gone off on one. You've got triggered in some way, or you've just decided for whatever reason you're going to be aggressive. What I do is I think to myself, well, Keld can't sustain this for more than about 10 minutes. Okay. It's all he's going to manage. So either I go, okay, well, I'm just going to sit with it for 10 minutes and know that it'll probably be over. And he can't sustain it for more than 10 minutes because emotion is exhausting. Okay,
Mm.
so I could do that. I could go, you know what? I don't have 10 minutes. Like I gotta, I told my client this negotiation would be over in 5. So I don't have 10. So I need to
Right.
speed this up. So what I'll
Right.
do is I'll go, Keld, look, it's worse than that. Okay. And I'll start to feed. I'll start to help
Right.
ramp you
Right.
up. I'll help
Right.
to ramp you up, knowing that you can only get to a certain level. And also,
Right.
what it might do is you're probably having this emotion at a comfortable level for you, but an
Right.
uncomfortable level for me. Most
Right.
people fight at a comfortable level. I mean, it's
Right.
uncomfortable for me. I'm going, wow,
Right.
this is
Right.
too much for me. I don't
Right.
like it
Right.
when Keld gets angry. But Keld, you're probably
Mm.
quite happy in that area.
Mm.
But if I
Mm.
ramp it up, okay,
Mm.
now you're getting uncomfortable. You're
Mm.
either going to duck out of it and go, oh, no, Mark, it's not that bad. It's not that
Mm.
bad. And I go, okay, Kel,
Right.
tell
Right.
me give me the positives. I'm interested. So I might be
Right.
able to reverse this with
Yeah.
you, or it'll ramp up, become unsustainable, and you'll
Mm.
duck out of it, or it'll just move through quicker.
Mm.
Let me give you another one here, Kel, which is I'm going to put a stake in the ground on this one, that these kind of displays are unacceptable to me. And so what I do is I go, Keld, listen, what I'm experiencing at the moment is something that feels very aggressive to me. I'm not going to be in the room while this is going on. So just to let you know, I'll be going for 10 minutes and I'll be back and we'll see how we're doing then. And I'd leave. I don't ask for your permission. I just say, no, I didn't say, Keld, you can't do that because you're a sentient human being. You can do what the hell you like.
Yeah.
Okay. But I do go, Kel, look, for me, this is aggressive. That's not acceptable for me. I'm
Mm.
going to go away for 10 minutes. I'll be back after that and we'll see where we are then. And then I
Right.
just go, knowing that if this is a true emotion of yours that's playing out, again,
Mm.
it shouldn't last for more than 10 minutes. If I come back
Right.
in 10 minutes, you might have forgotten what it was.
Right.
So, look,
Right.
3 ideas for you there, Kel. How
Mm.
do you feel about those?
I think they're great, Mark. They're really, really good. I especially love the one telling the counterpart it's even worse than that.
Yeah,
I'm just picturing negotiation I've been in where I should have tried that.
right.
I have an interesting add-on. I spoke to a boxing coach, very high level boxing coach, just a
Yeah.
couple of weeks ago, and he said some of my boxers, they run mental tests on them and look at their psychic and stuff. And he said some of them, and unfortunately some of the best ones, actually, and I know this sounds horrible, enjoy hurting other people.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
part of their drive. They actually enjoy it. And I'm just wondering, when we're talking about some of these narcissists, or perhaps even, let's not put that label on them, but very aggressive, combative people, I guess some of them likes to hurt other people in a negotiation as well. Obviously not physically, hopefully, but mentally or self-esteem or what have you. Back to what you said, if my self-esteem is low, I want to try and reduce you to an even lower level because then I'm better than you. So,
Yeah.
Mark, I mean, that's a whole different level if we're actually meeting a counterpart who purposely want to hurt you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, and this is really key is the hurting of you is a means to an end
Mm-hmm.
for their esteem to go up. So look,
Mm-hmm.
we need, first of all, we can combat that in the situation. Okay. But before we go to how I might combat, you as the counterpart trying to hurt me in some way, let's just countermeasure this. Let me just go, okay, look, what if Keld is a real, power, ego, and control person, maybe even a clinical narcissist? What am I going to do to countermeasure that? Okay, because maybe I've learned from others. They've said, "Hey, oh God, you're gonna negotiate with Keld. I'll tell you what he's like." I'm going, okay, I see what
Mm-hmm.
I've got here.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what you need is big visible wins. Okay. You need big signals that you are a winner. Okay. So how am I going to do that for you? Well, I bring you into the room. Let me make sure you have the good seat. Let me let you know that you deserve the good seat. Yeah. Let me know that we got something in special for you because you deserve that. Let me signal your high value so that you don't need to take me down.
Mm,
because you're now with somebody who
mm,
recognizes just how important
mm,
you are. So I'm going to
mm,
treat you as high
mm,
value. If I say to
mm,
you, okay, so where did you stay
mm,
last night? Yeah.
mm,
You're most likely to display to me that you stayed at a good place.
mm,
Okay.
mm, mm,
I'm going to make sure that you know it is a good place. In fact, it is
mm,
the best place, that you made the best decision.
mm,
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to let you know that you are known in the industry as a brilliant negotiator.
mm,
You
mm,
know, and I'm going to take control of that. So
mm,
I'm going to offer you that. I'm going to say, look,
mm,
we've all been pretty worried about
mm,
negotiating with you because you are known as getting a great deal.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. Right, right.
So look, treat me gently, Keld.
Mm, mm.
Yeah. So, so
But
I'm gonna take control of
Mark,
that.
isn't this what some people will call sucking up to a dominant individual?
Look, here's I've got a job to do.
Mm,
Okay. I've got a job to do, which is to get the best for me and my organization or my client,
yeah,
yeah, or whatever, my
right.
community. I don't know who I'm negotiating for, but I've been put in that position not because it's about me, it's because it's about us. And
Mm,
and I, Keld, will do whatever is necessary to make sure that I get the best deal for us. And if that means saying, "Hey, Kel, you stayed at the Hilton. That is a fantastic hotel. Yeah,
mm,
how did you get a room there?" Like, that's a really tough one to get. They're always booked out because it's the best place. Because now you're going to tell me a story of, well, I just gave them a call. They know who I am.
right, right.
I'm gonna feed into that. Now, look, some people would say that's manipulative. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I am taking the information that I have, I'm structuring it into a story that's going to put you in the best position for you to give me the best deal. Because every time you negotiate with me, you come out with what you really wanted, which is high self-esteem.
Mm,
Yeah. And I know that you will pay for that. I know that you'll deliver to me what I need to always negotiate with me and get what you really need. I mean, the problem is, Keld, is you are a liar. If you're there negotiating for your organization, you're a liability to that organization
sure,
because I saw you
sure.
coming. Now, let's just say, Keld, that I didn't see you
Mm,
coming.
right,
Okay. And I am sideswiped
right.
by
Mm,
your aggression and your um, control of this. What you know is, consciously or unconsciously, is that when you demote me, when you take me down, you go up, and there are signals to tell you that this is working. Yeah,
mm,
which is I get triggered, I get emotional. Yeah, you're able to say something to me, and you do it with everybody. You're able to say something to me, and I will get defensive. Yeah, I've got to know, okay, I just got attacked. Do not defend.
mm.
I personally got attacked, or you
That's a good point.
attacked my organization in order
Right,
to attack me and
right,
demote me. Do
right.
not defend. And so, one of the
Right.
strategies I'm going to use
Mm,
is acceptance. So,
right.
you attack me in some way, and I
Mm,
yeah, Keld, I can absolutely see how you see it that way. I totally
right,
get it. I
right,
totally
right.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a great advice, Mark. It is difficult though, but I mean, if
Oh,
you prepare yourself before you step in, I think that's a wonderful advice and probably something that can really reduce the tension or the aggression in the room if you don't respond. Because I also find sometimes, Mark, and please correct me if you disagree, but
yeah.
I also find sometimes that aggressive individual is really just trying to stress you, right? That's the purpose. They really just want to make you lose your mind because then they think they won. And if you don't respond to that, then I guess you're winning, right?
Yeah. Look, how do you stay balanced? That's
Mm,
the key.
mm,
So think about that verbally and non-verbally and psychologically. How do
right,
I keep balanced? You
right,
come and
right.
attack me. What you want to see is I'm
Mm,
unbalanced. You want to
yeah,
see my head go back. You want to see me launch
right,
back. You want to
right,
see my arms fold. You want to see
right,
me look away, getting
mm,
emotional, getting
right,
worried. Okay.
right,
You want to see me getting aggressive back
Right.
or passive back, because
Right.
you know now you're in control of the
Right.
situation. So what am
Right.
I going to do? I'm going to keep myself really symmetrical,
Right.
really balanced, really calm and assertive. I'm going to think
Mm,
calm and assertive. Yeah.
mm,
And so I'm going
mm,
to accept all these attacks.
mm.
Yeah. Here's what I might do as a bit of a boxer in this situation, because my brother's a boxer, and when I went to see him train, I was always amazed that he would move in to the punches. Part of it is getting used to getting hit. Okay. The other
Are you
thing
sure
is,
he did it right?
yeah. Part of it is getting used to that, but it's stopping your unconscious mind from constantly wanting to run away in the
Right.
other direction and hide
Right.
in the corner. Yeah, you've
Right.
got to get used to in the training
Right.
to
Right.
coming forward into it. Okay,
Right.
moving in and around those punches, and of course, yeah, in training you get hit. Of course,
Right.
you get hit, but you get used to it. So look, you attack me,
Mm,
you can try and control me, and what I do is I move into it and I say, "Hey, Keld, that's interesting.
mm,
Give me
mm,
more of that. Tell me more."
mm, mm.
Yeah. So I
Right.
invite it
Right.
rather than going,
Right.
uh, I don't like what Keld's saying here. I
Mm,
don't like
mm,
this. And you
mm,
get the benefit of seeing that you're controlling me right now.
mm,
Does that make sense?
mm. Absolutely. I just get inspired. I was in another negotiation a few months ago, and my client was a woman, and the counterpart very early on in this negotiation looked at my client and said, and I'm not even kidding you, Mark. He started
Yeah.
by saying, "Aren't you too short to negotiate?" You know,
Lovely.
he was a middle-aged white man, and I was sitting there thinking, this is not good. And I was just waiting for the explosion from my client, who was a high-ranking executive. But you know what? She maintained her calm. Now,
Yeah.
after the meeting, she came to me and she said, "I so much wanted to reply by saying, 'Aren't you too ugly to negotiate?'"
Yeah.
But she didn't. And I was so impressed that she managed to stay calm. What
Yeah.
was that the right behavior from her, not responding to that humiliation from that? I'm sorry, I used the word idiot on the other side of the table.
Yeah. Well, look, all credit to her. There's probably a good
Mm,
reason why she's the executive that she is, which she was able to really manage her emotions in that situation. Absolute credit to her and her organization. We want more of those people around. Yes, she could have done that quite Churchillian response of, "Aren't you too ugly to be?" and that would have, look, that would have made her feel good, undoubtedly. Okay, who wouldn't feel good with that kind of retort? But it could have triggered that counterpart
mm,
into an aggressive emotion and not being in control. In fact, if we're going to say this person is at a narcissistic level, and just imagine that, let's just treat them like they're
mm,
like that. Okay, they could have got up and left because
mm.
actually they don't like conflict.
Oh, interesting.
Well, yeah, they avoid conflict. They
Mm,
like to be able to pierce somebody else and
right, right,
deflate them so they're
right,
more buoyant in the
right.
situation. But if the person comes back with conflict, okay,
Mm,
they don't like
mm.
that, and they can easily go, "Well, I'm insulted," and off they go. So,
Oh, right.
and you're
Okay.
left going, "Well, hang on, you insulted me first, and then well,
Mm,
you insulted me more," and the whole thing is broken down. So
right.
look, probably strategically, if we're going to
Mm,
go, what was the best idea there? She had the best idea. Yeah,
right, right, right.
absolutely. Now, what are the other techniques? Yeah, exactly. To accept that,
Mm,
to go.
mm,
Yeah, I get called short so
mm,
often.
right.
Yeah, and I'm glad you noticed
Right,
that.
right,
Yeah,
right,
because you've seen, that deficiency. I wonder where else you'll
right,
find that I'm lacking.
right. Mark, a difficult question. Do you have a fictional? I don't think we should use a real individual, but do you have a fictional character that you could put that label on, being aggressive, combative, narcissist, that most of us would know from a movie or series or
Oh,
something
wow.
like that, so we can relate to somebody? Well, if you don't have one
Gosh.
right now, you can think about it, and we can get
Yeah.
back to it.
I'm
I think
trying to
we'll
I'm
just
trying to think who are the film versions of the extreme narcissism. Unfortunately, they're easier to recognize in real life, and
Oh, yes,
they're
yes.
currently around.
I think we could both of us probably name 5 or 10 right now, but
Yeah.
I think we should stay away from that.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah, um, the okay, look, let's go with this. Okay, let's go to an anti-hero. Let's go Hannibal Lecter. Okay, because
Hmm.
that is probably one of the greatest film psychopaths
Right, right, right,
of any sort. And we know with the psychopath there
right.
is this extreme narcissism.
Hmm.
Okay, so now again he is an extreme view because he is actually super intelligent, and most
Mm.
most psychopaths and narcissists are not actually super intelligent.
Oh, they're not? Okay.
No, no, no,
Okay.
no, no. So at the psychopathic level, they get caught.
Okay.
The extreme at the extreme, violent, aggressive. Socially, where it's socially unacceptable.
Right.
They do act because they don't understand as well risk. I mean, that's the
Right.
other interesting thing about the narcissist.
Right.
They're a liability because
Mm.
they're not able to really see the risk to the
Mm.
company or the organization because they're dealing
Mm.
with their own risk,
Right.
essentially. So
Sure.
Hannibal Lecter
Sure.
is an
Mm.
extreme example because you rarely get, if ever, that constellation of
Mm.
extreme
Mm.
intelligence. But anyway,
Mm.
he is wanting to let his victims know just how smart he is and
Right.
just how stupid they are. So
Right.
imagine in the first, in the Silence of the Lambs, where
Mm.
he has the female investigator in his cell, and he is taking her down with a psychological analysis of her to go,
Mm.
here's why you don't have self-esteem,
Right.
because you are a nobody from nowhere that only got into the FBI by acting. You are a poser
Mm.
in
Mm.
that situation. Yeah.
Right.
Now,
Right.
normally with a narcissist, um, that's just a projection of them.
Right.
That's
Right.
just,
Mm.
and they don't. In his case,
Right.
he's extremely intelligent, a
Right.
brilliant mind,
Right.
essentially. But anyway, I hope that
Right.
helps you in some way,
Perfect. That's great.
Keld.
Mark, you work with political leaders and military organizations, and I feel sometimes that in that world, just like commercial negotiation, showing weakness is sometimes perceived being dangerous, which I don't
Mm,
necessarily agree with in a commercial negotiation. Anyway, I raised this topic because when you work with somebody who feel that it is dangerous to show weakness, how can someone avoid escalating that dominance game while still maintaining some level of authority? So if you step into the table and you strongly believe that if I show weakness, I've lost the game already.
right.
Obviously, you're just playing that dominance game all the time. Could you would it work out being the counterpart to show weakness, or would that be abused?
Listen, I mean, look, you know this better than I do in terms of negotiation. You've got a stack of value that you've got to play with. I mean, if you're only just
Right,
playing with the value of like the dollars, you haven't
right.
worked out what the value is, and you can talk until the cows come home on that. It's the same with weakness and power. Essentially, I've got a bunch of weakness that I can play with. So the key is what weakness do I offer you?
Mm,
What weakness do I go, look, let me show you this, because that will essentially raise your value in your own
mm,
mind.
right.
Yeah. But I didn't show you all my weakness. I'm not
Mm,
showing you all my cards. Now, look, I'm sure, and I know there is a negotiation strategy that says show all your cards. Yeah,
mm,
and look, a smart negotiator has many strategies. Isn't
mm,
isn't that the case? And you
mm.
might walk into a
Sure.
negotiation, go, this is a negotiation where I show all my cards, and I really
Yeah, yeah.
do. Or this is
Absolutely.
a negotiation where I show these two cards, but I'm holding
Right.
these back.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think it's the same with vulnerability
Mm,
and
right. Right.
weakness. What
Right.
weakness should I show? Am I willing to
Mm.
show? Because I think there is a strategic
Right.
advantage in
Right.
that. And also, I
Mm.
might go, listen, this is not a weakness that I would usually show everybody. But if I show Keld this
Mm.
weakness,
Mm.
that will really speak to him
Right.
because I know he feels
Right.
himself weak in that.
Right.
And that will bring him up. So I can be super smart
Mm.
within this. But as you can understand, Keld, I've got to have
Right.
done my background on this, or I've
Sure.
got to be thinking
Sure.
really fast in the
Sure.
moment. I've got to be listening to exactly what you're saying,
Right.
exactly where you are telling stories of your power.
Mm.
So if I
Right.
go, wow, okay, he's telling a story of power there. What if I show a weakness
Right.
there? He might
Right.
really like that.
Right.
Yeah. And
Right. Yeah.
therefore trust me. Now, again,
Mm.
I'm being
Sure.
manipulative, but it's my
Yeah.
job
Yeah.
to get the best for us
Right. Right.
out of
And
this.
and I love what you're saying there, Mark. And I think it's truly important to prep yourself as well, right? Not
Yeah.
getting surprised by the counterpart's behavior. Now we will all do that eventually, but trying to prep yourself as much as you can, knowing a little bit about the counterpart. AI, as we all know, is a big thing these days, right? And AI in negotiation and communication is obviously a big thing as well. And let me just share a study, Mark. I don't know whether you're aware of that we've done lately, where
Yeah.
we basically just had AI looked at your LinkedIn profile. So let's assume that you update your LinkedIn profile so you have some meat on it, right? It's not just a
Yeah.
blank one, but there's some history, you post stuff and what have you. We actually have tested out having LinkedIn just reading your LinkedIn or having, sorry, AI reading your LinkedIn profile. And based on the disc trait behaviors, dominance, influential, steadiness, and
Yeah.
all that, we ask AI based on your LinkedIn profile just to identify where you are on that disc profiling. And then on top of that, based on our philosophy that AI is trained in, tell whether you are combative, concessional, stalling, compromised, or collaborative negotiator.
Love it.
And we ran that study hundreds and hundreds of times. And you know what? The precision is remarkable. It actually
Yeah.
hits the spot 95% of the time. And I don't even believe it myself that just based on your LinkedIn profile, I can basically say Mark will probably be communicative, open, collaborative, combative,
Yeah.
blah, 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 what have you. Have you played around with that yourself, Mark? Have you got any experience about, trying to box the counterpart a little bit
Yeah.
based on AI?
Interesting. So I think this is really, really interesting. So I'm not going to dismiss that this AI might be very, very accurate. Okay. Um, but let's just imagine that it is, because I could give you the counter argument of like, you can't trust AI
Sure. Yep.
around this.
Yeah.
Also, I could give you the counter argument. Personality profiles are nonsense anyway. Okay,
Right.
so
Sure.
I'm gonna take the opposite, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna go, Keld. I think your science is nonsense at two
Mm.
levels. You got an
Yeah.
AI to do it, and also personality profiles are nonsense anyway. And then
Mm.
I do this, and then I go, but what if it were true?
Mm.
Okay,
That's great. I
what
love
if
that.
it were true?
Right.
What would I do about that? And
Right.
so I prepare
Right.
for this nonsense being true.
Right.
Yeah. Because what is the harm?
Right.
How does it harm me
Right.
in any way to
Right.
spend, let's just say, let me minimize it, five
Mm.
minutes. Let me
Sure.
do five. In fact, I'm not even going to do any of the work. I'm going to get
Mm.
some nonsense AI and I'm going to go, hey, nonsense AI, how would I negotiate with this person
I
if
love
it were
that. That's great.
true that
Right.
and it'll give me three. I'll say, give me the top three things to do. Then I'd
Right.
look at those
Right.
top three things and I'd go,
Right.
well, what would be the disadvantage of doing those anyway? Even if this is nonsense science from two
Right.
nonsense AIs, is
Right.
there any downside to these
Right.
three tactics that it's
Right.
given me? Yeah.
Right.
And
Could,
if
could,
I
could I
go,
stop you? Sorry, Mark.
yeah,
I just have to emphasize this to our audience. What Mark is saying now is a $1 million piece of advice, guys.
right.
Listen very carefully the part about stepping back and just think about, let's just imagine for a second that what the counterpart is saying is actually true. Mark, if we had more negotiators doing what you advised them to do right now, we would get so much better negotiations out there because that is just genius what you just said. I read
Well,
it off that. Thank
well,
you
look,
for sharing that, Mark.
I'm glad you think that, Kel, and because all I'm doing is critical thinking,
Yeah,
which is
sure. But
what
we
if it
lack
were
that.
true? What if it were true?
Right.
So I know this to be accurate. The U.S. Navy and the U.S. Army, in order to get full strategies of what they're going to do,
Mm. Right.
they have something called remote viewers, and
Right.
these are people who psychically, so they say,
Mm.
can view
Mm.
a place and they sketch out. Here's what the nuclear bunker looks like, and
Oh,
here's
wow. I
what.
didn't know that. Right.
Okay,
Mm.
yeah, I mean that's what they do.
Right.
Now, I can quite easily say that is complete nonsense. There are people in the
Mm.
US Army and US Navy who go, that's complete nonsense. But here's what they do with that. With all the intel they get, including
Right.
satellite imagery, people on the
Right.
ground, they go, and remote viewers going, here's what I saw in my mind's eye. Yeah. They go, what if these things are true?
Mm.
What would our strategy have to be? So they're
Right.
using it as a data point in their whole strategy.
Right.
So I
Right.
I love what you've done there in terms of that AI profiling somebody from their LinkedIn profile,
Mm.
because you are going to get more interesting angles than
Mm.
you had before. Okay, you might
Mm.
actually get a
Right.
completely different. I might be going, well, I've met Keld, and I think he's
Mm.
this kind of person. Then the
Right. Right.
AI goes in there and it goes, well, hang on, I think
Yeah.
he's like this, and now I can
Right.
go, okay, well, what if he's both?
Right.
Which
Right.
Keld am I going to get? Well, let
Yeah.
me
Yeah. Exactly.
strategize. Let me spend
Mm.
5 minutes on the
Very
Keld that
good
I
point.
know, 5 minutes on AI's idea of Keld, and
Right.
then let's see who shows up in the room.
Yeah. I think again, Mark, I think it's a really important discussion we have right now because I have a colleague, Dr. Dan Sapir at Harvard University, who's heading the program on negotiation. And he's claiming that we all more tribal than ever before. He
Yeah,
says we are all living in a group, and if you and I agree on something, Mark, we just shut everybody else out. We're not even interested in listening to what they're saying because obviously they're idiots. Because you and I have agreed that we know what is true and what is not true.
of course.
And he obviously, like everybody, blames partly algorithm because we're getting fed with whatever that agrees with us all the time, and that means we are seeing less of the opponent's information than ever
Yeah,
before. So he's
yeah.
basically saying we're worse at listening today than ever before. We're really not listening to the counterpart. We're just listening to prepare our own argument. Are you agreeing with that, Mark?
Yeah, look, and I think I would put this caveat on it. We've always done that,
Mm,
as you were saying, that we're human. We're designed to find our likeness because we
right,
know we can cooperate with them
right,
easier. Okay,
mm,
it's less resource to cooperate if I've
right,
already got somebody who's going to agree with me.
right,
Okay, so now there's less diversity in thought, but
mm,
ultimately we can get our thing built quicker if we
right,
cooperate, and we'll iterate, and we'll come to the diverse answer later on, or we didn't need
right,
it essentially.
right,
So look, these common industrial tools now of the algorithm, because that's what an algorithm is. It's an industrial tool. We can do it faster to more people quicker over time and space. Yeah. It just means that I'm quickly learning who I can cooperate with, most
mm,
likely faster,
mm,
quicker over time and space. I'm finding
mm,
my tribe,
right,
when they live thousands and thousands of miles away, and
mm,
missing out on
mm,
doing business with the person who thinks in a very different way from
yeah,
me, which might
right,
have given me a massive advantage in my
right,
niche where I am. So yeah, I'm missing out on opportunities by that
mm,
that algorithm, but it's not like I'm just doing it harder,
mm,
faster, with less.
right,
I mean, than I could have
right,
done, you know,
right, right.
3 years ago, let's say.
Yeah, sure. I think one of the point as well is that perhaps if we should be critical of ourselves, we also have a tendency to look up information that support our own opinion already, right? So
Yes.
we're not looking up information that might benefit the counterpart. So we're looking for something that benefits ourselves. I don't remember the institution, but there was a study conducted years ago where they looked at books selling on Obama before the election on Amazon. And people who bought books in favor of Obama had already decided to vote in favor of Obama. And people who bought books that were critical of Obama had already decided not to vote for him. So you're basically just supporting your own belief by picking what you're studying,
Yeah.
which I find is interesting human behavior as well, isn't it?
So look, Kel, I would challenge people to use AI in order to perform its best guess at the counterpart,
Yeah.
you know, because it can be really good at acting
Mm,
that out and
yeah.
give you a
Right.
bit of a run at a negotiation with
Right.
that, and turn
Right.
some volumes up on some factors. Say,
Sure.
hey, go and analyze that their LinkedIn. Tell me what type of negotiator you think they're going to be.
Mm,
Okay, turn the volume up to 11 on that,
mm,
so I
mm.
can really and give me a negotiation with
No,
that
absolutely.
person.
Yeah,
you know, and
I think that's a great advice, Mark. Advice, and I also would say another thing that is, we all have to remember that AI is a people pleaser. You know, we probably
yeah,
all tried that, uploading something and asking AI, "What do you think about it?" And they always come back and say, "You're the most beautiful in the room, and it's just great and outstanding." And my God, you're a genius. So we all have to prep AI and say, for God's sake, be honest. You know, we have to prep it
yes,
that way. Otherwise, it just gives us what we want all the time.
yeah.
You know,
Let me give you a prompt that'll work with that. I think it probably works best in ChatGPT.
right,
And the prompt is be brutally honest with me.
right. That's
So
a great one.
brutally honest.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And
Yeah,
and see what comes back. So you can ask it to be very aggressive
yeah,
with
right,
you.
right.
Yeah. Because you're right,
Yeah,
it is a people pleaser. And if you go, hey,
mm,
negotiate with me, yeah,
right,
it will get you to win, and it'll
right.
go, it'll treat you as like a narcissist. And it'll
Yeah,
go, it'll go, Mark, you are the most fantastic negotiator. You did that brilliantly. Okay. Now,
exactly,
what you can do as well is
exactly.
get other AIs to check
Mm,
the output as
right,
well,
exactly. That's a
and do a
great point.
reality check on it
That's
and
a
go,
great
listen,
point.
how good was this negotiation
Yeah,
actually? Give me some
yeah,
pointers on how could
right,
I have done better, and how could have the negotiator been more brutal with me?
right, right. Mark, we're almost running out of time. I do have one important question though.
Yeah.
Non-verbally body language. What can we do? How can a professional use their body language professionally to calm down an aggressive counterpart? I mean, even if you get hurt and you get insulted and everything we talked about, is there anything that you should do purposely non-verbally to help yourself and
Yeah.
help the actually situation?
So two things. You are designed to mirror the strongest, clearest signal in the room. And if you have somebody who's being aggressive, yeah, you are likely to mirror that aggression and get aggressive back with them. And though there are arguments to say, well, that could help you in a negotiation, I'm going to say chances are it probably never will, especially if you've got a real, let's just go to the extreme, clinical narcissist. If you get aggressive with them, they are most likely to get up and leave because they don't like the conflict. So if you want that, sure, mirror the aggression back, ramp it up, ramp it up, ramp it up. They're going. They're going to walk, go, you're just insulting me. I hate this. I'm off. You're idiots. And off they go. Okay. So we don't want to mirror that. Now it's tough to do a not. So let's work out what the doing is. To be calm and assertive, really make sure you're doing open palm gestures at exactly navel height. Okay. Or if you don't want to do that and you don't want to move, just interlace your fingers, put them over your navel area here. Yeah. And just sit and nod and accept what's happening. Okay. And then say whatever you need to say. Yeah, but don't ramp it up. If you're getting aggressive, you're going to come up to chest height, or your hands are going to drop down by their sides. Your chin's going to tuck in. Yeah, you're going to start targeting them, pointing. There'll be more fists. There'll be more noise in the room. Yeah, just calm, assertive, open palm gestures, navel height, or just interlace your fingers over here. Yeah, simple as that, Keld.
Great. Another question, genders. Is there
Mm.
something that we should be aware of gender wise? Is there a tendency that men would be more aggressive than women? And back to my story about the guy who offended my client there. Is there some gender advice that you want to share here at the end as well?
Yeah. So look, here's what we know. Whether it's a male or a female being aggressive, the instinct doesn't really care. So it doesn't care if there's a male or a female. It doesn't
Right,
differentiate. Both are as dangerous as the other. Here's
right,
what also we know is that this is going to be the same for every male and every female. But if we take every male on the planet and every female on the planet and we test them for testosterone, the males are going to test on aggregate higher than the females, much higher, radically higher. Okay. It's not the same for every single female against every single male, but on aggregate, I'm winning that bet every time. Okay. What does testosterone do? Here's one of the psychological things that testosterone does. It causes the person with the testosterone going around them to feel there is less risk in the world. It's not that they're more aggressive. Okay. The more aggression is just the symptom of feeling there's less risk in the world. Now that it can be both a benefit and a liability. Okay.
Yes.
And so here's what we need to know is that if I were to gamble 100 males negotiating, okay, the males will on aggregate test as more aggressive than the females. So there was that one male and that one female, okay, that were the extreme opposite of that. So I'm going to gamble the male is going to be more aggressive than the female. And I'm also going to know one's going to come along every now and again where I'm like, whoa, that really broke the mold. Okay, so I mustn't be surprised when that aggregate idea gets broken. So I'm always prepared. The male is going to be more aggressive until they're not. And then be prepared for that.
Thank you so much, Mark. Absolutely last question, Mark. What is the biggest myth about body language that you could come to think of?
Yeah. Well, look, here's what I'd say is the biggest myth I would say is that you can read it like a book. Okay, is that because I saw this one thing, it means this. Because A, therefore B. Yeah.
Right.
And so here's what I want to do in any situation where I have an outcome in mind. Okay. I want to stop reading body language and I want to start leading it. Yeah. So I want to be, though it's useful for me to read your body language in a negotiation, I've got to know that what I'm looking for is changes in behavior, not single signals. Yeah. Changes in behavior and radical changes. So I can go, wow, something just happened there for Keld. That number that I put out there, that's made things different. I should now inquire how he's feeling about that number, what he thinks about that number. But the main thing I'm trying to do is lead the body language so there's a specific atmosphere around the negotiation. How do I want it to be for you and me? Do I want it to be calm and assertive for both of us? Or do I want it to be chaotic and aggressive? Because I can lead that. I can make that happen.
Right. Wonderful. That's a great piece of advice. Mark, if some of our audience want to reach out to you, where and how are you available? Obviously, you are YouTube superstars, so they can watch you on YouTube. Yeah. But how they can buy your books and how can they get in contact with you if they want your advice or keynote or what have you?
Yeah, just find me at truthplane.com, TRUTHPLANE, truthplane.com. You'll find me there. Contact me there. Love to hear from you.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. This hour went by like it was 3 minutes, as always with Mark. I think we got some really useful tool out of you, Mark. Thank you so much for spending an hour with me once again. I would actually just remind everybody to watch the previous one we did on humor in negotiation. It's still one of the more popular ones and the one I remember, Mark. Do you remember that, Mark? There was a horrible guest on the show, or one of the viewers, who actually raised the topic and had the nerve to suggest that the Germans had no humor. Do you remember that, Mark? It was horrible.
Ridiculous, Keld.
Completely ridiculous. I remember that. Mark, thank you so much. Thank you for everybody attending. I really love this show, and I hope you got something out of you. Thank you, everybody, and good luck in your negotiation using some of Mark's tools.